Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Don Jo. This is their part number EST-103-622. This is a typical strike plate, except that it's obviously an extended lip. It's a 4 7/8 strike with a extended lip, and we're going to talk about why or where you use that. First, some dimensional properties. I had said this is 4 7/8. It's literally 4 7/8 overall height. That's the typical prep that you'll see in hollow metal frames. Why do you need such a large strike? Well, frames need to accommodate latch bolts and deadbolts, so they need the real estate to fit both of those in. This is for a cylindrical lock with that single hole that's in the center line. If it was for a mortise lock, it would either be one long prep or more typically a rectangular prep down here and then another one up here, not on a center line, shifted down to accommodate, to allow that deadbolt to squeeze in, and that's why a mortise lock prep has a 3/8 of an inch relocation from center line than a cylindrical lock. Anyway, so it's a 4 7/8 strike. This happens to be a 3-inch extended lip, or I'm sorry, it has an extended lip. The dimension is 3-inch. Or it has a lip length of 3-inch. Thickness of the strike is 0.093, so about 3/32 of an inch. And we'll include a couple of fasteners, typical 12-24 wood machine screw combination type items. Now, let's talk about where exactly you may end up using this. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Where might you use this strike? Well, obviously, but not exclusively, in a hollow metal frame. You could use it in a wood frame. And a hollow metal frame is probably where this is being used because it's 4 7/8. If you had a aluminum frame, which you probably won't, or a wood frame, which you possibly could, you may not be starting off with a 4 7/8 strike. You might be starting off with a 2 3/4 or a 2 1/4 inch strike. So likely a hollow metal frame. But it could also be that you are using you have a wood frame and you're using a 4 7/8 strike where you had a 2 3/4 because you want to chisel out that area to remove some damage that there might be and use a longer strike. And it just so happens to be that you need an extension on the standard lip length, which is why you'd bump into this. But this is probably a hollow metal frame. No tip-off as to the customer's identification as to what this is for. A hollow metal frame where you have a wall condition that is such that when the door comes to close, the latch bolt is hitting that wall condition before it hits the hardware, before it hits the standard strike. Standard strike is about 1 1/4 inches. This is 3-inch, but what is that measuring from? Well, the overall width of this strike, it's about 3 9/16. Well, that's not how these are measured. How they're measured is from the center line of the screw hole to the edge of the lip, and that's where the 3-inch comes in. And just while I hold that there, keep in mind the standard is about 1 1/4 inches. So if you have about 1 3/4 inches of additional stuff installed, you might need an extended lip strike. Or you might have an inset condition where you have, if you've got a typical frame, the door, when you're standing on the pull side, is usually flush with the face of the frame or very near it. Well, imagine if it was actually 1.5 inches inset. Would you bump into that? You could, no doubt. You could have an extremely deep wall. You could have an 8-inch frame. I'm just using numbers off the top of my head. An 8-inch deep wood frame, and you've got a mortise lock. It's a chapel and a hospital. You've got a very thick wall. You have a wood frame. It's about 8-inch. And that door, rather than being offset in its standard position in the frame, it's set in the center of that 4-inch. So it looks balanced from either side of the opening. You're certainly going to need an extended lip strike there. So if the inset is greater, that would be another case. So you could be doing something with the wall. You could be insetting the unit into the frame further, things of that nature. Let's switch to the screen view and let's drive home a couple of those points a little more graphically. Using visual aid is what I mean. We won't be getting graphic in this video. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at, and let's take a look at the extended images that we have down below. There's the Strike. Just different perspectives on it, a little side view, close-up of the countersink for the screw hole, the overview, showing what that lip looks like, and then the fasteners. Okay, pretty typical piece of equipment. This is the Strike itself. Extended description information is here. Extended lip Strike, 13 gauge. Well, we measured it at about 0.093. I don't know what 13 gauge is, but I'm sure it's close to that. 4 7/8 by 3. Screws included, matte black finish. That's what the 622 means, by the way. 622 is black. It's a BHMA code for black. When you buy one, we'll ship you one. There's a link to the template here. Let's take a look at that. That will give all of the dimensional properties beyond what I have already provided for you to review. You might have a question on the size of the hole or the center line of the screw holes, which you can determine from this document. They also indicate 605 for polished brass, 612 for satin bronze, and 613 for satin stainless steel. They can also do a dark bronze powder coat finish as well. They can, I'm sure they can do an antique brass. They do antique brass on other pieces of hardware. Why not this Strike? They could. So there you go. There's also a link to the product catalog, but before we get there, let's do a little deeper dive into the world of where you would use this. So you basically just have a hollow metal frame or a wood frame, whatever you like, and you have your door, and you have your standard Strike. Beautiful, no problem at all. Your latch is going to come in here. Life is good. I had a client walk in yesterday, literally with this application, and then someone added 3/4 inch trim out here, and the client needed a 2-inch extended lip Strike. Okay, had 1.25 inches, and then all they needed to do was to get that out there. That's all they needed to do. So it was a 2-inch lip extension. They could have used a 2.5, but a 2-inch worked. And we'll determine how you determine what size you need mathematically in a moment. Now, this same scenario that I just drew is exactly the same as adding wall material. You could have that same situation with a hollow metal frame where they then add Drive-It or stucco to the outside and conceal all of this area. So they didn't run the wall to here. I hope you get my point. Okay, they didn't run the wall to here. They ran it to here. Not all in one process. You know, that's what they did, or something like that. Or and your door's here, where the inset is all of a sudden now greater. Could be that as well. Very typical application for an extended lip Strike is when the wood pre-hungs go to the job. The exterior doors were all ordered as 4 13/16 or 4 9/16. Turns out they need, they should have ordered 6-inch. And then what they'll do is they'll add jam extensions out here. Just pieces of wood to just make that look right. The problem with that scenario is twofold. You not only need an extended lip Strike, but over here, after they have added the jam extensions, now your hinge has a problem. So what you really need is a raised barrel hinge. And there are times when raised barrel hinges and extended lip strikes run together. A raised barrel hinge is literally just a hinge that has its standard hinge. Raised barrel hinge has its hinge leaves swagged in this sort of concept, because what they're doing is moving the center line from here and they're moving it this way. So moving the center line from here and moving it this way. A raised barrel hinge. You probably need that as well, possibly. Okay. Now, that mathematical formula I talked about, this is how you determine it. This is the industry prescribed way to determine it. What lip length you need. Half the door thickness. So 1.75 times 0.5 is 0.875 or 7/8. Plus your inset. Let's just say ours is 0. So we're still at 7/8. Projection of the trim. Let's say it's 3/4 inch. So it's 7/8 plus 3/4 inch and 5/8. We can already see that a standard strike will not work. You add 1/4 inch for curved lip strikes. So now we're at inch and 5/8, right? I think. Yeah, inch and 5/8. No, inch and 7/8. Or 1/8 of an inch if it happens to be a flat lip strike. And that's your size. Go to the next largest size, most likely. In this case, it would be 2 inch. And that's literally what the client had yesterday that walked in, needed a 2 inch strike. What if that inset was 3 inch? So inch and 3/4 times 0.5 plus 3 inch plus 3/4 inch. You know, now we're dealing with a very large lip strike. But that's the formula by which to determine that. So there's one other scenario to mention here where it's the opposite. If you have a pair of doors and you have a flat astragal installed, you're going to need a 7/8 lip length. All you're doing is literally taking half of the door thickness. It'd be a flat strike with a 7/8 lip length. That's also custom. 1 3/16, inch and 1/4, those are all pretty custom. Pardon me, that's all pretty standard. 1 3/16 is pretty much the standard size. But when you're detailing a lock set, calculating the lip length is a required step when you're detailing the lock set. And you will see that every manufacturer, Sargent is the one that comes to mind, they will all detail their strike plates. I think it's a 82-0110. Oh, okay. Pretty good memory, I guess. That's a win for me. Curved lip strikes. Here are the lip lengths. So when you're detailing this Sargent lock, you're just going to toss in the part number based on what lip length you need, but you need the formula to determine the lip length. There you go. That's a required step, or at least to detail it correctly. No one ever thinks about the strikes, really, unless you're really in the industry. But you know, you should, in the sense that clients, it's very often that we sell just extended lip strikes, and it's because they've received the locks, and now the latch bolts are hitting the trim. That's not nice. And in this scenario, this pencil-drawn scenario, your door, your strike won't even sit flat on your trim, depending on how far that's been brought up. Okay. Now, there is a link, as I said earlier, to the product catalog. We won't look at that here. Let's look at it here. The link to the manufacturer's page will allow us to review not only all of the Don Jo products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog, which is then broken down into these subsections. And that strike plate catalog is here. And this is an EST-103, and we'll just do a find function on our keyboard for that and get to the table where we can find these strikes. So they can do 1.5 inch, 2 inch, pardon me, 1.5 inch, inch and 5/8, inch and 3/4, 2 inch, 2.5, 3, and 4 inch. In all of those sizes. Other sizes, they can do obviously 2 1/4 inch tall, a full lip strike we would call that. 2 3/4 inch tall, they can do those T strikes as well, but they also have 2 3/4 full lip strikes. Pretty uncommon to sell those, but occasionally you bump into needing a 2 3/4 tall full lip strike. Generally, I see it when you're converting from a deadbolt to a slam latch. This section of the catalog is full of all such types of strikes, standard and, of course, extended lip, but also custom strikes as well. In fact, there's a order form in the back, but I caution you in the sense that one custom strike is going to be one pretty penny. You don't want to have them make you one custom strike. If you need 100, it's no big deal, but that setup cost is going to be price prohibitive. They also have security strikes here as well. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. In conclusion, I feel that we've covered where you might end up needing this strike. The black is a very popular finish, has been for a couple, 3-4 years. It's 2021 right now, and you know, it will likely be in vogue for about a decade. If you went back several decades, about 100 years ago, black would have been a common finish offered in everyone's catalog that I can think of. It would have been called bright black japanned or dead black japanned. This is like a bright black japanned in the sense that it's got a small amount of reflectivity, but it's just a powder coat process. It's paint. It's a very heavy-duty, durable paint. I am actually a bit surprised by that little nick in the paint there. This strike must have fallen before they shipped it to us, because powder coat is so durable you wouldn't just casually damage the material. So a very durable process by which to paint material, and that's where black is showing up in the industry. It's a powder coated version called different name depending on what, who the manufacturer is, but black is not black. There are different blacks. You'll find a slightly reflective, you'll find a matte black, and then you'll find a black that's got some texture to it. They call it suede. Anyway, this is what is a 622, and that's the BHMA code that defines exactly what it is. Any questions on the EST-103 622 4 7/8 3-inch extended lip strike or any other Don Jo product, please feel free to reach out to us, and thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.